5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All systems go with Josh Appelbaum starts now.
Hello and welcome to episode 435 of the All Systems Go Sports Betting Podcast, powered by Rhythm. I am your host, Josh Appelbaum. What's going on, everyone? Happy Monday. A new week begins as we shift to the second half of January. 1 day closer, 1 week closer to the Super Bowl. So can you believe it? We are now down to the Final Four after an absolutely epic weekend of bets in which we had a pretty good weekend, guys. 3-1 plus 1.69 units. We did have that epic, incredible game with the Broncos and the Bills. Stayed true to that dog to fave line move, that fade the trendy dog, public Buffalo, but line went to the Broncos, and boy, did we have to sweat that thing. Josh Allen was once again incredible. He made some mistakes, but man, I honestly, as great as it was cashing Broncos money line, I feel for the Bills fans out there because, again, what is a catch anymore? I'm happy that Brandon Cooks catch was called a pick. Again, could have gone either way. Again, there's been multiple games where you don't know what a catch is anymore, but we know the breaks don't go our way, and sometimes we lose, so we're going to celebrate when the breaks go our way and we win. So it was a great hit there with the Broncos. I also had a nice hit with the Patriots. That's right, my Patriots, after a couple 4-13 seasons, they're on the doorstep of the Super Bowl. Now they're going to face Jarrett Stidham as Bo Nix, another, again, tough injury, will not play in the AFC Championship. We have seen New England. They were sitting around -5.5. I'm seeing some shops get down to 4.5, so maybe there is some belief that Denver can cover that number, so we shall see. We got a whole week to talk about that one. But Patriots coming through in the snow, an old-school snow game at Foxborough reminds me, it wasn't quite nearly the Tuck Rule game when I was 13 years old. I'll tell you, that's how old I am now. I'm 38, but I remember 13 years old next to my dad watching Tom Brady in the Tuck Rule game, kicking off the Dynasty Vinatieri in the snow. But all about that Patriots game yesterday. Again, that line was liability toward Pats the whole time, -2.5 up to 3. A lot of shops are juiced up and going to 3.5. And remember, that was a tough schedule spot, short week for the Texans. And our friends at Rhythm actually had Patriots around -4.5, even close to -5. So nice edge there with New England coming through, covering the number. How about the Bears? Again, I got a good buddy of mine from college who was from Chicago, big Bears fan. I texted him, go Bears. They covered the number, so again, we got a 4. It got down to 3.5, ended up losing by 3, but that was a tough one too because Caleb Williams he had one more little rabbit out of the hat with his magic, with that running backwards and just chucking it up corner of the end zone. Incredible touchdown on 4th down to tie it, but then you lose in overtime, so that was a tough one, especially on a turnover. We did get our Bears +4. Only loss was the Niners. Got some CLV, got 7.5, closed at 7. But they got their doors blown off. But either way, guys, with a 4-pack of playoff games, 3-1 plus 1.69 units, you love to see it. So we're going to see if we can bring that magic, that momentum into tonight, because we do have another huge football game. We're going to have the final game of the college football regular season tonight. That's right, the national championship game. We're looking, of course, at the Miami Hurricanes and the Indiana Hoosiers. And this is a play that we talked about on the pod. Yes, that was it, Thursday, Friday. I'm saying we should bet this now because it might move. It has moved, and I hope you guys played this earlier, but I'll give you a full update here on Miami and Indiana, a big bet here for tonight. And by big bet, I mean I can't wait to sweat it, but again, it doesn't mean it's 10 units. It's 1 unit like any other play, but we'll talk the national championship here for tonight. The other Final Four games, so I told you, again, just to set the table, and we're going to let the dust settle here, get into the system matches, the splits, the line movement. But we had Patriots opening around -5.5 down to 4.5 against Stidham in Denver. Well, Rams in Seattle, opening Seattle -2.5, 3. We're pretty much still 2.5 for 3. So I was surprised that line was so short. I think the public is hammering Seattle in this spot, which I get it. They looked like absolutely just incredible getting it done there at home. As I should have played the the Kenneth Walker, multiple touchdowns there. But right now, 88% of spread bets are on the Seahawks, 85% of bets are on the Patriots. So, again, my hand might be forced here. Those are 2 contrarian plays with Denver and with the Rams, and a couple of them are in some decent teaser zones as well. So, what do you think? Should we take Denver 4.5 to 10.5 and Rams 2.5 to 8.5? Those are some Wong teasers going through key numbers. But again, haven't played anything yet. But anytime you have a huge weekend like that with a divisional round, you're always looking to the next week. And then, of course, after that week off, and then the Super Bowl. So, with that being said, after a 3-1, 1.69 unit weekend with the Broncos, Pats, and Bears coming through for us, let's see if we can keep it going here on a Monday night. So, with that being said, let's get into the big game here, guys. And again, I always want to mention this. I do know there's a huge college basketball slate today. There's NBA, there's NHL. But when football's winding down, and trust me, once the Super Bowl ends and the champion's crowned, we're just going to be dying for football, for the next 6 months. So I didn't want to force a couple other plays here. Let's just stick to the biggest championship game tonight. So let's talk Miami and Indiana. Now, if you remember or listen to the pod from end of last week, you know where I'm going here, and you know I'm loving this line movement. So let's set the stage, talk splits, system matches, line moves, rhythm, juice reel. I'll give you my play for this one. So, the granddaddy of them all, college football playoff championship game, the Super Bowl of college football is tonight. This game will be played, if you haven't heard, at Hard Rock Stadium in Miami Gardens, Florida, which is the home of the Miami Dolphins. So, Miami. Is this a de facto home game for Miami? I think we'll get to that in a second here, but a lot of talk I've heard is, Fernando Mendoza, did you hear he grew up 1 mile from the stadium? I've heard that a million times. Yeah, that's awesome. It's a home game for him, but the home team is really Miami, lack of travel, and probably the crowd being a lot of fans of the U here. But anyway, let's stick to the data, the betting market, and what we've seen transpire thus far. Miami comes in 13-2. They are the 10 seed, just outlasted Ole Miss 31-27 in the semifinals, covered as a 3.5-point neutral site favorite. Don't remind me. I had the Rebels 3.5, lost by 4. That was a tough one. But anyway, Indiana 15-0, the 1 seed, trying to finish off the perfect season. Dominated Oregon 56-22 in the semis, easily covered as a 3.5-point neutral site favorite. So what have you seen across the market here? Well, this game opened Indiana around a 7.5-point neutral site favorite. And if you remember, pretty much all of last week, what we saw initially was the line move toward Indiana. Indiana went from -7.5 up to -8.5. Also at that time, we knew that, hey, that was a huge public play on Indiana. If you look at the splits, guys, everybody and their mother is going Hoosiers here. Maybe not that they don't respect Miami, but just anytime, and you'll see this quite a bit, an undefeated team that is laying chalk, that's blown through everybody, and they have the Heisman Trophy winner, and they also have Kurt Cignetti as their coach, who's becoming kind of this new, the new Belichick, the new Bear Bryant, the new Saban. But public's going to latch onto that. They're going to say Indiana's blown out everybody. Maybe if this line was 14, we'd see a different story. But this is an automatic public play. Don't think about it. Back to Hoosiers. Now, Hoosiers are great. They've been incredible. I bet against them a couple times. I took Oregon. Felt good about beating the closing line, plus 4.5. Got down to 3.5. They blew Oregon's doors off. So it might just be, hey, Indiana's so good, they'll cover this number. But what do we always talk about on the pod? Not letting emotion, not letting fandom, not letting media narratives talk us into or out of a bet. If we're going to win or lose a bet, we're going to win or lose it based upon what the data, the numbers, and the dollars are telling us, not what outside sources or our own personal biases are telling us. So, right now you're getting 68% of spread bets at DraftKings on Indiana, big public book. We did see Indiana go up from -7.5 up to -8.5. But if you remember, when we were talking on the pod on Friday, I was telling everybody, hey, we should probably jump on the 8.5 now, because I was noticing at that time, it wasn't -8.5, -115 toward the Hoosiers like it was going to 9. On that Friday, you were starting to see the juice settle out or kind of settle down to -110, but then also see a couple shops start to juice up the plus 8.5. So that was really big to me. Again, on Friday, that the plus 8.5 Miami was getting juiced up to around -115. I believe at that time maybe one book had gotten down to 8, but that told me, okay, Miami is a very unpopular play. Number one, I want to go against the public in a heavily bet nationally televised game, so you're in a really good contrarian spot just to fade the public regardless of the slate movement. But getting the 8.5, we should probably jump on it because it looks like it's getting down to 8. Well, guess what? This was a tweet by Dave Purdom, who's great. He works for the Gambling Beat on ESPN. But as I was, I had Twitter open and I was watching the football games yesterday. I didn't have my live odds page up, but he tweeted out something to the effect of late movements break in Miami. That 8.5 is getting down to 7.5. And when I saw that, I was like, okay, here we go. That means late money's breaking toward the U plus the points. And I'm glad we identified that based on the juice. And I think that's so important when you talk about the juice because, again, the VIG, the vigorous, whatever you want to call it, what's important with the juice is, the public only looks at the juice in terms of the price that they have to pay. And oftentimes public is going to want to get, a lower juice price, which is known as reduced juice, or a plus money juice price. They're going to avoid minus 115, minus 120 just because they don't want to pay that. But I think if you've bet long enough, you know that there's no way around it. You got to pay the juice, other than you could join, of course, Novig and use promo code JOSH123 when you download Novig as a betting exchange and get better juice prices. But the point being is that juice lets you know which way the wind is blowing, as the great Bob Dylan once said. So the whole point is, don't just look at the juice as what you have to pay. Yeah, that's true. But look at it as kind of letting you open a window into where the liability is, where that next move might be. Anytime we talk about something being juiced up, that means most likely that's the side getting liability, and the line is going to move next in favor of that team. Now, it may not always happen. Like, you could get, juiced up plus 8.5, minus 115, minus 120, and then maybe it evens out or goes the other way. But normally, you're getting juiced up, most likely the next move is going to be in your direction. So the fact that Miami, even though they're very unpopular, only getting about a third of tickets, even less than that, in the most heavily bet game of the season, primetime, ESPN, and that 8.5 got down to 7.5 over the last 24 hours, great indication of big money coming in. So we opened 7.5, and we're basically back down to 7.5, even though public's hammering the Hoosiers. So what is that called, guys? That is a line freeze. Line freeze is when you have heavy betting one side, Indiana, but the line really hasn't moved. Now, it has moved because it went up to 8.5 and then back down to 7.5. But if you just go open to current, and you can do this when you're looking at your Odds Logic live odds page. Again, oddslogic.com/Josh123, 7-day free trial, 50% off your first month. But the open column and then all the current prices, if they're all the same, even though it's heavy betting in one direction, that's an easy way to identify a line freeze. So that tells me pros like us hit the 8.5 with Miami a couple days ago. Now we're down to 7.5. Miami would match as a dog who can score system play. So they're averaging nearly 31 points per game, thereby increasing the chances hopefully they can backdoor cover or keep pace. Also home field, as I mentioned. This is basically their home stadium. Not technically, but again, they play a lot of games here. It's in Miami. You'd expect a lot of support in favor of the U here, so we'll take it. If you look into some systems historically, if you look at the championship game in which a dog either has the line stayed the same or move in their favor, so this would be a stay the same, 7.5, still 7.5. Those dogs are 4-1 against the spread in the championship game since 2015. Hurricanes, 1-day rest advantage, nothing huge. They last played January 8th. Indiana played the 9th. The important thing with the side, so again, I hope everyone's holding an 8.5. We talked about this on the pod. I put it into the Juice Reel app if you follow those plays for $4.99 a week. But I did notice earlier today, you still had at one point plus 8.5 with DraftKings. Well, guess what? That's gone. There's no 8.5s anymore. So if you want to play it, 7.5 is your best price. But the one thing I do like, even if you miss that better number, is once again, pay attention to the juice. I'm seeing a lot of shops juicing up still the Miami side. Plus 7.5, minus 115, plus 7.5, minus 120. That tells me that even though this line has fallen back a full point toward the U, they're still making you pay a higher price to back the U, which is a good sign because public's all over Indiana. So now, if we get down to 7, this no longer becomes a straight line freeze. It would be then a straight up reverse line move play, which would make it even sharper. To make it even better, we have our friends at Rhythm projecting 2 models on this game, both telling us to take Miami. First model has Miami plus 3.1. Second model has Miami plus 4.6. So again, awesome to see that the market is moving back toward Miami. They're really fitting everything we look for. So again, I hope they can cover here because I'm really excited to sweat them. But late movement in their favor, super contrarian, low bets, higher dollars at a lot of these shops. Not a ton, but like 30% bets, 40% dollars. But then we have Rhythm telling us it should be closer to a 3, 4, 5 point game. So I am going with Miami. Again, 7.5 is your best price right now. You might hate that and say, man, I could have gotten an 8.5, which you could have, which a lot of us did. But still, you might beat the closing line because it's juiced toward Miami, and maybe it gets down to 7. So we shall see. I did want to mention the total because I'm seeing another dose of under money come up here. Total open around 48.5. It got down to 47.5 when I wrote the sharp report for VSiN.com earlier today. Now, early to late afternoon, I'm seeing this get down to 46.5. So this line is moving down. The line is moving toward Miami. If you think about correlative betting, usually it's a good sign when the total's dropping and the line's moving toward the dog. Like if this was moving up to like 9 and the total was getting closer to 50, that's usually a sign like in Indiana in a blowout, high-scoring game. But the fact that both the line is moving toward the dog and the total's falling, good correlative sign there toward the U. You look at DraftKings, 27% bets, 40% dollars on the under. Circa, 22% bets, 66% dollars on the under. So we got good splits, low bets, higher dollars at both DK and the sharp book out in Vegas. Both teams play really good defense. Indiana's giving up 12 points a game, second in the college football overall, and Miami giving up around 15. That's fifth. They're both kind of slower in terms of pace of play. Miami's 66th in tempo. Indiana is 79th. And again, there's 136 teams. Temperature shouldn't be a huge issue. But again, Florida, Miami, things can change on a drop of a pin. But you do have around low 60s, high 50s, partly cloudy skies, around 10-mile-per-hour winds. So again, that at least windy a little bit leads to the under. But I will say, Hard Rock Stadium, it's open, but there's kind of a little bit of an awning that kind of extends a little bit over the seats, so it's not like a true open field windy under. But still, total is falling. That is a good sign toward the under and toward the U. But you add it all up here, guys. I'm holding Miami plus 8.5. I hope you are too. But at least if you want to get in on the action, you're a little bit late, you can still get that 7.5. But let's go Miami. I'll mention this as well. This is a really interesting tweet that I noticed. And it was Curt Cignetti being interviewed by, I don't know who it was, but the money quote here is, quote, "I think the 8.5 point spread is a setup." So this just jumped out to me for a couple reasons. In the context, this was like a 2-minute video. I should probably retweet it. But he just goes at length about how great Miami is. They got a great quarterback. They got a great defense. They're at home. They got all these great players on special teams and yada, yada, yada. And their offensive line is huge. And I think the 8.5 point spread is a setup. So that tells me again, one, he knows what the spread is. So anyone who thinks these people don't know, they know. Number two, is he being legit, saying this is going to be a tough game, or is he kind of gassing us up like Lane Kiffin with the rat poison used to do? So I don't know, but it was just notable to me that he's kind of saying, like, again, and think of it this way. If he's making it sound like this is a really tough game, if they cover, blow them out, then maybe, it just proves how great they are. Maybe if it's a closer game, they win close, then he can say, okay, they're a really good team. But I rarely hear a coach give you the number like that. I think the 8.5 point spread is a setup. So maybe he's lying, maybe he's legit, but maybe that's a little bit of an omen here. That maybe he feels like, this should be a closer spread if he's being honest. But again, who knows? I just thought that was funny. But either way, guys, after a great weekend of divisional round NFL playoffs, let's see if we can keep it going and get Miami to cover this number. Let's go the U. So that about does it for episode 435 of the All Systems Go Sports Betting Podcast, powered by Rhythm, of course. This is the part of the pod where we wrap things up, and I always start first by saying thank you. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for grinding the ups and downs, the good days, the bad days, the hot streaks, the cold streaks with me, because just like in life, there's ups and downs in betting, but we're sticking to the model, sticking to the blueprint. And if you value the insights, if you cashed a couple tickets over the weekend, guys, using the data-driven approach, then I would love for you to support the pod, help me grow the pod by giving this podcast a 5-star review on Spotify or iTunes. If you'd also like to leave a comment, rate and review, click the follow button, retweet the pod when I tweet it out, recommend the pod to a friend, that would all be fantastic. Next, if you enjoy this style of sports betting breakdown, data-driven, sharp contrarian betting, focusing on the numbers, not the teams. As an old adage once was said, pros bet numbers, not teams. And that really kind of changed everything for me, because once you get out of betting based on your impression of the team, and you start to learn numbers, your ROI is going to you're going to get up here a little bit. So which is always the goal. If you do want to learn more about data-driven betting, you want to support the pod, you want to let me know you appreciate the pod, or you have someone in your life who could use some data-driven tips, I would love for you to go to Amazon.com and type in the NFL Sharp Betting Playbook or the Everything Guide to Sports Betting. Grab one or both of my books, which I'm very proud of. And if you want to bring them to the sports book, I'll sign them for you. I'll buy a beer or a ginger ale, and we'll sweat some games together. Next, have you downloaded Rhythm and Juice Reel yet? My two favorite sports betting apps. They help me win. They're going to help you win. Rhythm, great for their AI-backed models and predictions for game bets and player props, as well as Juice Reel. So many great features. Of course, with Juice Reel, you can I can hold out the tip jar, and you can throw in a $5 bill if you feel so generous by signing up to the All Systems Go Best Bet Picks for $4.99 a week, located on the Juice Reel app. You also get the Robo Jackson Best Bet Picks, the Sharp Mush Indicators, the Arbitrage Plays, the Shop for the Best Line Futures, all available when you download Juice Reel. So download Rhythm, download Juice Reel, give them a 5-star review in the App Store. Next, do you have a live odds page? Well, if you don't have one, you need one. You got to be able to track the market. Got to be able to, find the signal amongst the noise. Got to be able to see what the games available to bet are that day. Live scoring, live in-game wagering odds. More importantly for me, have that opening column that never changes, all the current odds to the right from the different books, and locate Steam. Shop for the best line. Find that best number. You can do it all with Odds Logic. So if you need a live odds page, if you don't have one but you need one, or you have one that's expensive and you want to get a more affordable one, or you have one that's free but it's delayed, you have no clue where the information's coming from, it's not accurate, it's coming from offshores or who the heck knows, then I'd love for you guys to give Odds Logic a shot. So for a 7-day free trial and 50% off your first month of service, just go to oddslogic.com/Josh123. Next, have you downloaded Novig yet? Well, I mentioned earlier, but Novig is going to give you way better juice prices because you're going up against other bettors and not the house. So for example, instead of paying -115, -120, I'm looking right now, game day, at Novig with the Miami and Indiana game, and they have Miami plus 7.5, -106, and they have Indiana -7.5 at +105. Those are by far the best prices you're going to get. 46.5 over, -102, 46.5 under, -103. Again, best prices around because you're not going up against the house, you're going up against other bettors. So go download the Novig app, and when you fund your account, there should be a little promo code, little box, put in Josh123. They'll tack on an extra $25 for you. So that about does it for episode 435 of the ASG Pod. As always, getting back in the swing of things on a Monday. I'll leave you with two final thoughts, guys. One, whether I see you at the Borgata in Atlantic City, Twin River in Rhode Island, the Brook in New Hampshire, Foxwoods or Mohegan Sun down in Connecticut, the Encore in Boston, Plainridge Park Casino, MGM Springfield, or the Nash in my neck of the woods on the border of Massachusetts and Nashville, New Hampshire, or out in the desert where the true grinders get down, where Billy Walters sends his number runners, where the lowest juice possible is found at the South Point, or Sweat and Sharp Contrarian plays, jumping in the stadium swim pool when you cash a big ticket at Circa, you're going to walk up to me and you're going to show me a Pats -3 ticket, a Bears +4 ticket, a Broncos moneyline ticket. Guess what? First one's on me, next one's on you. Then we're going to post about the book and Sweat Sharp Contrarian plays all night long. So as always, guys, coming off a 3-1 weekend or a 1-3 weekend, a 4-0, an 0-4, a 2-2, a good weekend, a bad weekend, a fantastic weekend, a terrible weekend. Again, whether we're hot or cold or grinding somewhere in the middle, we never want to get too high or too low. Just going to stick to the model, stick to the blueprint, and find games that fit that system. And that system goes a little bit like this. We're looking for games that are against the public, with the house, with the pros, flat bet. Avoid parlays and get that CLV. If we can do that, we're going to be successful sports bettors. So have a great Monday, everybody. Enjoy the national championship game, because it's going to be a long way until the next college football game after this. Let's see if we can finish off with a winner. Let's go Miami. Cover this number. Lose by 7 or less. How about that? So everyone's happy. But good luck, everybody. And I'll see you tomorrow for episode 436 of the All Systems Go Sports Betting Podcast. Powered by Rhythm. Good luck, everybody. And let's go the U.